Hey, well, today I'm angry at journalism. And when I say journalism, I think I'm including every single journalist writing in English with the exception of just a handful. And that handful are Glen Greenwald, who isn't even in the United States. He writes for The Intercept, I think he's out of Brazil. Matt Taibbi, who writes for Rolling Stone, hardly what you would think of as, the most credible newspaper of record, but as it turns out, he is. And of course, Julian Assange and Snowden. Now, interestingly enough, a U.S. appeals court ruled last week that the information that Snowden had revealed, i.e. that the NSA was scooping up all of our phone records, that was illegal. The NSA had denied it vociferously for many years, and Snowden published evidence that they were lying. He had to flee, and he is still, I believe he's in Russia currently. He isn't able to return to the West because of what he's exposed. And keep in mind, he exposed a criminal act. Why would somebody be punished for exposing a criminal act? You tell me. Then we come to Julian Assange. So Julian Assange worked for an online news organization called WikiLeaks. I believe he founded it. He released video that showed the US of A, guilty of war crimes. They fired upon journalists. And even after they realized that they were journalists, they fired upon a van that showed up to try to help the wounded get to a hospital. The US was furious about this information being released and pursued Assange. He hid in the Ecuadorian embassy and was even granted Ecuadorian citizenship, but the British police still broke into the embassy with the embassy's blessing and dragged him off to prison. Keep in mind, this is an Australian guy being accused of publishing evidence of war crimes. Now, the person who actually released this information to Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, subsequently becoming a woman, Chelsea Manning, she served many years in jail for this crime. Assange is accused of encouraging her to break into computer systems to get this information. There isn't even any evidence that he's done so. That's the accusation against him. Meanwhile, the New York Times, the most credible newspaper in the United States, won a Pulitzer Prize in 2018 for reporting on the Russia scandal. And here is the description in 2018. I'm going to read it to you because it is so humorous that the staff of the New York Times won the Pulitzer Prize for, quote, deeply sourced, relentlessly reported coverage in the public interest that dramatically furthered the nation's understanding of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and its connections to the Trump campaign, the president-elect transition team, and his eventual administration, received jointly with the Washington Post. This story is a fraud. It never happened. This story never happened. There never was any collusion between Trump and the Russians and the Trump campaign and the Russians. And everybody who publicly claimed that they had seen evidence of this collusion, when given the opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress, denied any such knowledge. These guys, these journalists, in air quotes, won the Pulitzer Prize for reporting a story that was false 4 years ago. 2 years ago, they won the prize, talking about events from 4 years ago. What kind of journalism is that? You'd think that in their shame, they would be forced to return the prize, or if not forced to return it, that it would be yanked from their hands. But no, they are still the proud recipients of a Pulitzer Prize. Meanwhile, the state of journalism is in sad, sad decline. Everybody is co-opted. When you look at the biggest journalists in the world, they are headquartered Washington, Rome, London. Their life is social with the subjects they're supposed to be covering. They're supposed to maintain an arm's length distance so that they can report on these people. Instead, they've been so co-opted that you cannot trust their reporting on these people. They are friends with these people. They see their point of view. They present their point of view to us, the commoner. They are part of the system. They are not part of us as they should be. They should be exposing corruption and malfeasance wherever it is. Instead, they're delighted at the dinner parties and high society connections that they have. We rely on journalists to keep us honest, to keep the people in power honest. There is endemic corruption around the world today, and journalists, investigative journalists, are badly needed to expose it, to bring the high and mighty and corrupt to heel. We trust them to do that. When will we realize that we cannot trust them any longer? They've been completely co-opted and they now belong to the enemy camp. They issue press releases approved by those in power. They do not report on those in power. When you read the news, realize you're reading a press release. Please start reading between the lines and wake up.